Imagine moving over $300,000 to a new brokerage, lured by a juicy promotional bonus and the promise of lower fees, only to find yourself locked out of your account, stuck in limbo for weeks, and potentially losing money in the process. That's exactly what happened to me when I moved my investment account from Wealthsimple to Questrade. And in this video, I want to walk you through the whole experience, what I was hoping to gain, where things went off track, and what you should watch for if you're considering making a similar move. You're definitely going to want to stick around to the end because I'll also be sharing a hidden cost savings from this move that had absolutely nothing to do with the Questrade promo. Something that could save you thousands if you're a parent investing for your kids' future. You're watching The Crazy Canuck Investor. My name is Darren, and I started this channel in April of 2023 when I started my own investing journey, wanting to document everything from day one so other beginner investors could see that it wasn't so difficult. Now, we need to rewind here a little bit because I actually think that Wealthsimple is an amazing platform, especially for beginner investors. In fact, that's where I started if you go back and you watch some of my videos from the beginning of when I started my channel. It's a financial institution on top of that, so you can actually do your banking. Now, it's easy to use, the interface is very clean, and the portfolios in the managed side are well diversified, and the automation really helps people if you're not very comfortable managing your own investments like I do. Now, for a while, it was perfect for me, but as my accounts grew and I got more comfortable with investing, I started to notice that those fees were really starting to add up, and I knew I could do better. And the real key to investing is to try and reduce fees whenever you possibly can. Now, that's when I decided to move over to Questrade. Here's what I was hoping to achieve. Questrade had made a number of changes to compete with Wealthsimple. One was zero trade fees. So I really wanted to lower those fees. I wanted to obviously take advantage of that cash bonus, 3% on the first 10,000 and 1.5 on the remainder. The ability to use Norbert's Gambit to save on currency conversion fees, as well as they introduced fractional trading, which is still in the process right now. And obviously I wanted to drop the 0.4% RESP fee that Wealthsimple was charging in my managed account. Now, at the time of my transfer, my total account value was about $330,000. So let's break down the math on the promotional offer here. So 3% on the first $10,000, that's easy, it's $300. And 1.5% on the remaining $320,000 is about $4,800 for a total potential bonus of $5,100. Not too shabby, right? But then the markets dropped thanks to Trump's tariff news, and my portfolio fell below $300,000 during the transfer. Now, that's a really big hit, and it likely will reduce the promo payout. And to make matters worse, it took way longer than expected to process the transfer. Now, Questrade stated in their literature that the account transfer would take approximately 20 business days. Mine took well over that. And during that time, my accounts were effectively frozen. I couldn't trade, I couldn't rebalance, and I couldn't access my money whatsoever. That delay alone likely cost me a great deal of money, especially given those market conditions. Now, one of the biggest issues was with my USD accounts. Now, Wealthsimple has a CAD account and a USD account, where Questrade, on the other hand, only has one account that holds both currencies. And at the time, I did not realize that the USD portion, about $120,000, had to be explicitly requested as a separate transfer, and I assumed it would transfer with the CAD account, and only found out otherwise after the CAD portion had completed. At that point, I reached out to Questrade and was informed of the mistake. Now, I spent extended periods of time on the phone with Questrade to get this information, both on the phone and in the live chats, where you're number 81 in line waiting to talk to someone. And guess what? I'm still waiting to find out a resolution. Now, I've asked them to consider the USD portion as part of the promo qualifying total, but I haven't received an answer yet. So fingers crossed, we'll see how it works out. Now, meanwhile, Questrade blamed the delays on Wealthsimple. But when I called Wealthsimple, they picked up the phone right away, and they were very receptive to the feedback provided because I told them exactly why I was moving my money, and they wanted to know what they could do to keep me. They also explained exactly how the transfer would work from their end and where things stood. So I'm not exactly sure where this holdup really was, but what I do know is it wasn't handled in a way that made me feel confident as a new customer to Questrade. Now, the other reason that I made the switch was my kids' RESP, as I mentioned. Now, Wealthsimple was charging me 0.4% management fee because I'm a premium client, and there's 3 tiers within there, so the higher you get, the lower those fees are. And that fee really adds up. Now, the RESP account size was about $82,000 at the time of the transfer, and the annual fee at 0.4% equaled $328. And I've been paying that since April of 2023. So $320 annually over 10 years, that's $3,280 in fees. Now, Questrade doesn't charge fees on RESP accounts if you manage them yourself. Now, that's a big long-term savings. But of course, there was a complication. The RESP transfer hit a snag because of the BC Education Training Savings Grant, or BCTESG. Now, this is a $1,200 grant from the government in BC that can only be held at a financial institution, and Questrade doesn't technically qualify as one just yet. Now, this is in the works from what I understand, but for now, it means that the RESP has to stay split from the remaining part. So I'll be leaving the $1,200 grant at Wealthsimple in a managed account while the rest moves over to Questrade. It's another layer of complication, more delay, and a reminder that even when you've done your research, things can get messy. And it's worth noting, Questrade had a laundry list of guidelines you needed to follow to ensure you qualified for the promotional offer. Now, I did my best to check every single box, but Questrade themselves didn't fully uphold their end of the deal. And that's a pretty hard pill to swallow when your money is locked up and you've endured a long hassle of time. So where does this leave me now? Well, I've potentially missed out on thousands in the promo offer. I've lost flexibility and access to my funds during a volatile time in the markets, and I'm still chasing down the USD portion of the transfer. Now, the RESP transfer is still in process with that $1,200 stuck at Wealthsimple. But I'm still optimistic if the promo is honored and once everything is moved over, I'll have full control, lower fees, and the ability to use Norbert Gambit on the future USD conversions to save even more. And the best part of all, by transferring the RESP to a DIY model at Questrade, I'll avoid those 0.4% fees, which could save me thousands over the years. Okay, so I won't be showing the Questrade interface just yet. In upcoming videos, I will actually show you what that looks like. And what I can say is there are considerable differences between the look of Wealthsimple's interface and app as opposed to the one with Questrade. We'll talk more about that in another video. So here's my last trading session from April the 8th, and we're using Passive in order to track things. If you've been following me for a while, you know this is the tool that I really like to use because it brings everything together in one place. And now that I'm almost a full Questrade user, I get this thing for free so I can do one-click trading, which we'll see here in just a minute. So the TFSA is sitting at 96% accuracy with the asset allocation. We have $1,132 in there, so there's a little bit of dividends in there. The other part of the transfer issue that I didn't talk about is when you transfer your money out from the other account, the dividends that you're earning until the transfer is complete, that dividend will still get deposited into the other account. So let's say your ex-dividend date was the 15th of March, and your transfer completed on March the 20th, that dividend's gonna deposit in the other account. So I also had to reach out to Questrade and Wealthsimple to get them to move the remainder of that money from the account over to Questrade. That's why we have $1,132, and as you know, every week I put $1,000 in there, and then if I have a little bit more kicking around, I throw a little bit more in. This week it was $1,009. So the total value of the account as of that day was $50,407. And of course, now we're going to go through all of the buys. So what Questrade does is it looks at the amount of money that I have to trade with, and based on that information, it looks at the current stock prices through Questrade and figures out how many of each position I should buy to keep up with my asset allocation. So we can see here that the first thing it's suggesting that we buy is 7 shares of HYLD, 5 shares of QQC, 6 shares of VFV, 3 shares of XEC, 1 share of XEF, and finally 1 share of XIC. Now to execute this, it's very simple. See the preview orders button here at the bottom of the screen. Very simple. All I need to do is hit that. It will tell me exactly what will be left in the account, how much commissions I'm paying, and all I need to do is hit the confirm order button. After I hit the confirm order button, every single one of those transactions goes through, and then I get a notification like you see on the top of the screen here that says that they've all been executed, and now it's showing me that they were done. And then when we scroll back up, it will actually update all that information to reflect the transactions that took place. And so here we can see that we actually, in that moment of time, we actually wound up with $12.08 left to buy one more share of HYLD. And so I'll go ahead and execute that as well. Now, it's been a painful process, but hopefully this video helps you avoid the same mistakes. Make sure you do your research. Triple check all the accounts, especially the USD ones. And don't be afraid to call both brokerages if something feels like it's off. Let me know if you're going through something similar or you've gone through something similar in the past. I'd love to hear about it. Leave it in the comments. And if you're interested in figuring out more about Questrade because you're brand new, you should watch this video right here.